If you want a simplified Adobe Premiere Pro tutorial for beginners, even if you haven't edited a video before, then you're in the right place. Be sure to watch this video from start to finish so that you don't miss any of the important details. What's up, purpose-driven creators? If you're new here, I'm Matt, and if you'd like to spread your message further and faster, start today by hitting that subscribe button. So first, I'm gonna walk you through setting up your project, then we're gonna go through workflow in the timeline, and we'll finish off with exporting your video project. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is start a new project. Go ahead and click on New Project. Now, it's really important to make sure your projects are organized. So every time you want to create a video, create a new folder for your footage. Make sure that you have your footage imported from your DSLR or your phone. Get those video clips into a folder and store them on your computer. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project folder, and we're going to call this Editing Tutorials. I'll go ahead and select that folder, and let's give this a name. Premiere Pro Tutorial 1. Next, check the scratch discs to make sure that they're set to same as project. That's my preference. Scratch discs are set to a custom. I'm going to actually change this to same as project and do that for all of them. And then click OK. So the first thing that you might notice is this layout is different than what you'll usually see. And if you'd like to simplify your workspace and you haven't seen that video yet, I'm gonna have a link in the description below this video. Go and watch that video first. It's gonna help you simplify your entire life when it comes to editing with Premiere Pro. So I highly recommend watching that video, then come back and resume this video from where you left off. So now we need to import our footage into the project. I'm going to double click on this window here. If you don't see that window, that's okay. Click on File and Import. Now I need to find the folder that contains my footage. I called this folder Footage. One thing you might want to do if you have multiple cameras is create a folder for each source. For example, a Samsung Galaxy Note 10 folder and a Panasonic GH5 folder so that the footage doesn't get mixed up and you're able to keep the project more organized. Now I could open up the folder and then pick individual clips. I'm actually going to go ahead and import the entire folder, which brings the folder into the project, keeping you more organized. So I'll click on Import Folder. All right, our footage is imported, and just a quick note, the footage that I'm going to be working on today is from Heritage Canada. They create these Heritage Minutes, and in 2018 I had the unique opportunity of doing the behind the scenes video for them. So I've got some pretty cool clips here, and I'm excited to work on them. One thing I think might help you if you're a beginner is thinking of Adobe Premiere Pro as what's considered to be a linear video editor. And what does that mean exactly? You have a timeline and a sequence. A sequence is a series of clips organized from start to finish. Your timeline is where you do all of your work. That's this window at the bottom here. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag a clip from the project panel, this footage bin, and I'm going to drag it into the timeline, and then I'm going to show you what to do next. So the first clip I'm going to start with is this one here. I'm just going to click it and drag it down to the sequence. An important note here, when you drag a clip onto the timeline, it's going to create your sequence settings automatically. And that's relevant for you if you're planning on shooting footage in different resolutions. So for example, I film with this camera at 4K resolution, while these clips are 1080p. So the first clip that I want to put onto the timeline, which creates the automatic sequence settings, is the same resolution which I want to export in the project. Meaning I'm going to drag a 4K clip first down to the timeline and create my sequence settings. So in the case of this project, it's not really that important. Everything I'm working with is one resolution. I wanted to share that with you because it's important. And I'm going to show you very quickly, before we work on the timeline, how to change your sequence settings in case you need to change them. So you're just going to move your mouse up to the bar here, click on sequence, and click sequence settings. Now you can see everything, and it's actually a quick and easy way to find out what resolution your footage is actually shot in. Maybe somebody sent you some clips to work on that you didn't film yourself. So this is a quick and easy way to check it and change it. So there are 5 tools which I would consider to be the essential tools, and I'm going to focus on those ones for this video. I'll go more in depth in future videos, so make sure you're subscribed. So the first tool that you're going to use a lot is called the selection tool. That's this button here. This allows you to move your clips around, you can click and drag, you can do all kinds of stuff. This one's pretty important. Next up, we've got the razor tool. You can remember this because the keyboard shortcut is C, which you could think of as it's cutting. You're going to be making cuts using this tool. So that's this razor tool here. And you can see it changes the mouse icon here to be a razor, and you can see this line on your video clip showing up. That's exactly where your cut's gonna happen once you left click. So now I'm going to show you another way to add clips into your timeline before we go through the next set of tools. In this footage bin, you can double click on a clip, which will make it larger, and then essentially you can just click and drag the playhead left and right. So I'm looking for a moment for this clip where I want it to start. This looks like a really good place to start here. So I'll hit I on the keyboard, which marks the in point. You can also click this button here, mark in. Drag it forward, and that looks like a good spot to mark the out point. O on the keyboard. You can also press the mark out button here. Now the cool thing with this is I don't have to drag the whole clip down to the timeline and then edit out the parts that I don't want. I'm only getting the essential clip that I want to add in. From here, you can click the clip and drag it down. This will bring along with it the audio. You could also drag this icon down to the bottom and get just the video. The same goes for audio. So let's go back to our footage folder. I'm going to scroll the mouse wheel across to get back to that window. So the next tool that I find very handy is the track select forward tool. This allows you to select all of the tracks that are in front of the arrows. Let me show you where this can come in handy. So I'm going to make a cut here and here. And now I want to move all these clips to the right so that I can make some space. Now you could click and drag over everything and then try to move it. Or you can simply just press A on your keyboard and then click this clip here and move them all to the right. This maintains the position of everything in the timeline that you just moved so that they're not getting all mixed up. Now I'm going to switch back to my selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, and now I want to zoom in on the timeline. Now you could use keyboard shortcuts for this. Keep in mind that you can do everything you want in Premiere Pro with just a mouse. That's the slow way to do it. We want to be learning the keyboard shortcuts so that you can speed up your workflow. If you want to check out your shortcuts, let me show you how to access that real quick, and then we'll get back to editing in the timeline. Simply go up to Edit and then Keyboard Shortcuts. This brings up your window, and one of the cool things you can do is you can actually search for a command in the search bar, and then you can find out what the keyboard shortcut is. So the next tool you're going to use all the time is your space bar. This is going to play the video and pause it. That enables you to just review your footage and make edits where you need. Now this clip is very small, and sometimes you need to be able to zoom in and zoom out. You could use the equals or the dash on your keyboard. The method that's much faster, which I recommend for you to use, is to hold down the Alt on Windows or Option key on Mac and then use the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in and zoom out. So I'm going to zoom in here. Now, on the left side, we've got all this stuff, and that can get a little overwhelming. Let me show you what we're looking at. So the first thing is these eyeballs will hide the track. Maybe you've got layers of video clips in your future videos and you just need to turn off a track so that you don't see that stuff and you can see the tracks below it. So you're able to have multiple video clips and graphics stacked on top of each other. The same goes for audio. Maybe you have speech, then you have another track with music, and you could have sound effects below that. Something that makes it much easier for you to be able to edit a talking head video or a tutorial is zooming into your audio so you can see where the gaps are and then making cuts on the ums and the ahs and anything that you don't want to have in your finished video. So let's try that out. Hover your mouse over this space here, hold down the Alt or Option key, and then scroll the wheel up. Now you can see it's expanding and I'm able to see the audio waveform much better. Now there's a big space between these clips here, so let's perform a ripple delete which will eliminate any space between the clips automatically. So right click here and then click on ripple delete. So as you move your mouse over different items, you'll notice that the icon on the mouse changes. Now I could click this and I can drag this to make it shorter, or I can actually make a cut. I'll hit Control Z on the keyboard to undo, and I can hit C and I can just cut that off and then ripple delete the clip. That's much faster than trying to click and drag your clips all the time. So create your first sequence, drag all of your clips down to the timeline and arrange them in the order that you want them to show up. Quick question, is this video helping you? If so, let me know in the comments and ask a question because I might cover it in a future video. All right, you've assembled all your clips and you're ready to export your project. Let's take a look at my recommended settings so that you can get your first video project exported. So whatever clips I have here, that's going to be the sequence that gets exported. So I'm going to make sure that this window, the timeline, is selected, and now I'm going to go to File, Export, Media. There's a lot of settings in here, and I'm not going to go in depth for this video because it's just to get you started. But let me show you quickly what settings I recommend, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you'd like to get more in-depth tutorials. So there are two formats that I use. There's a big list of stuff here, and this is a little technical. So we're going to focus on H.264. This is universally compatible, and it's compatible with things like YouTube or anywhere you want, any social media platform you're going to be uploading your content to. If you use H.264, you won't have any problems. Make sure that export video and audio are checked. And from the video tab, this resolution's automatically detected by the first clip that you dragged onto the sequence. You can still change it by unchecking it. We're going to leave it for now. Let's turn on render at maximum depth for increased quality. Performance, you may have different options here. I have hardware encoding. That's the fastest way to export using my computer. So if you have a different kind of computer and it says software encoding, check to see if you can do hardware instead. We're not going to worry about any of that other stuff. This setting is something that I always change for every project. Bitrate encoding. So from VBR 1 pass, which means variable bitrate, it's going to encode your video file with 1 pass. I'm not going to use that. What I would recommend using is a continuous bitrate. That's my personal preference, mostly because I'm working with 4K footage for all of my projects. So we're going to click on CBR, and I'm going to set the target bit rate to about 25 megabytes per second. Now that changes the size of your video file. I'm going for 25 because I find that the quality is good and it's not going to take up too much storage on my computer. If you're going to share a video with like a client or something or someone else and you wanted to make it simple and fast, then choose a lower bit rate. I'm going to go with 25, and then let's make sure that use maximum render quality is turned on, and everything else is good the way it is. You can double check your audio just to make sure that it's set up. I haven't really done much here. I don't usually change these settings. It's almost always set up just fine the way it is. So there's two options here. You can queue it up or you can export the video clip. The difference is if you use queue, you can continue working on your project. This requires a subscription to the Creative Cloud and having Adobe Media Encoder installed on your computer. That way you send the project from Premiere Pro over to Media Encoder, which does the work while you continue working on your project in Premiere Pro. If you only have Premiere Pro, go ahead and just click on the export button. It'll use the Premiere Pro software to export your video. One thing that's important here is let's name our project and make sure we know where it's going to be going, because I can't tell you how many times in the past when I didn't do this, I would be looking for the video file that I just made. Where did it go? What folder is it in? So we're going to click on the blue title here, and we're going to say Video Editing Tutorial 1. Now I want to make sure that it's going in the correct folder. So I actually created a renders folder for all my projects to keep them organized. So I'm going to open this folder. This is a YouTube video, so I'll put it in here, and then all my YouTube videos are there. So I'll go ahead and click save and then queue it up. If you'd like to continue your journey of learning Adobe Premiere Pro, then make sure you check out this playlist of videos up here. So the project's loaded into Encoder, and I can just go ahead and click this play button up at the top right. It's going to encode the video and put it in the folder that I told it to. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I can't wait to see you creating a big impact with your videos. Shh.